One of the first things that I talk about with my second act artist coaching clients is sketching. And that's because sketching is a very easy entry into an art practice that doesn't require a whole lot of art supplies to get started. In fact, you probably have everything that you need lying around the house somewhere right now. Your favorite pen or number 2 pencil and an empty notebook is all you need to get started. If you don't have that, your local big box retailer or dollar store or even a thrift shop are going to have what you need very inexpensively. Art supply stores will have higher priced and higher quality items, but even they are going to have a selection of supplies that'll set you back probably less than $10. Hopefully, I've started to tickle your curiosity when it comes to sketching as part of an art practice. If so, then the rest of this video is really going to be for you, because we're going to take a look at my sketch kit to see what's inside. I'll show you my pens and inks, my paints and brushes, and the sketchbooks that I use to give you an idea of what you might put in your own kit. Now, my kit isn't huge, but it is more than just that pencil and notebook that I talked about earlier. But I don't want that to stop you or slow you down in any way. You don't really need a whole lot to get started. But before we get started, I want to talk about urban sketching, which is my favorite and most practiced style of sketching. Urban sketching is an observational style, which means that we're drawing from real life. It gets you out of the house and on location to draw whatever catches your interest. People, buildings, landscapes, animals. What you draw is not nearly as important as how you do it. And in urban sketching, it's a very loose and informal style where photorealistic accuracy is just not the point. It's very immediate, almost impressionistic, where we're capturing the essence or the feeling and emotion of a place instead of all of that detail. It requires, a little bit of abstraction and letting go of perfection in order to capture that essence. Because there's rarely enough time in our urban sketching practice to dive into all those details. And with that lack of time, carrying the essentials in your kit becomes very, very important. And for me, my essentials begin with this beautiful waxed canvas paintbrush roll. Let's get a closer look and see what's inside. As I said, we're going to start here inside my paintbrush roll. And when we look at it, you can see that it is indeed a nice waxed canvas, which means it's relatively waterproof. You can't drop it in a lake or a river and expect it to stay dry, but if it starts raining on you, no problems. You can see this nice leather belt and clasp that goes around it to keep everything together, and it's got a little eyelet here in case you want to put a shoulder strap on it or hang it from a carabiner on your backpack or something like that. Let's take a look inside to see what we have. It just rolls out 3 pieces, has a protective flap on the inside that opens up, and you can see everything that I have inside. And we're going to start here on the left side and look at this first item, which is my TWSBI Eco pen. You can see it's a piston filler, which means that you screw this part here to bring the ink up into the reservoir, which is about 2.5 to 3 times larger than most fountain pens, which is what this is. And in this, I have waterproof ink, particularly this one, carbon ink from Platinum. It's a Japanese brand. It's one of the best waterproof inks that are out there. And that's very important if you're going to be using wet media on top of it, like I do with watercolor paints. Next up in the list is this Sailor Fude Damanin pen. It's a very Japanese name, and it is named after the bent nib that you can probably see here. 55-degree angle, and the reason for that is that depending upon the angle of attack that you're writing, say this way, which puts the 55-degree flat, or this way where you're working on the tip, it can adjust the line width from very thick to very thin. And you can also flip it over and write with the very tip of it to make extremely thin lines. I also have the waterproof platinum carbon ink in this one as well. Next up is something that you may already be familiar with, and this is a LAMY All-Star, or LAMY All-Star. It's a German brand. You may know it better as the LAMY Safari. The difference between the All-Star and the Safari is that the All-Star is made of aluminum and the Safari is made of plastic, and I just prefer the aluminum version better. You can see it's got a little triangle finger hold here, so that is very comfortable. It's got a fine tip, also a fountain pen. In this pen, I actually have water-soluble ink, specifically this one here. This is from Pilot. It's the Iroshizuki brand, and it is Black Takesumi is the name of it. As I said, that is water soluble, and I'll use that for ink washes, where I'll use the water soluble pen to draw and then grab a water pen to pull the ink out. Since it's water soluble, it's going to move around anytime water gets added to it, and you can make excellent gradients and shading and that type of thing. Next to that one is another LAMY All-Star, just in a different color. It's exactly the same pen, same fine point nib. The difference in this one and the black one is the ink that's in it. And for this one, I have another Pilot product, the Kujaku from Iroshizuki, and this is a really deep, nice turquoise. It's just an absolutely beautiful ink. Again, this one is water soluble also, so that I can move the ink around on the page if I want to. Next up is the Jinhao number 9. Just a small writing pen, but I use it for drawing. It's made of an acrylic resin, not quite like a bowling ball, but definitely much harder than plain old plastic. And this is a medium nib from Jinhao. And the ink that I use in this one is also water soluble. And it's a LAMY product, and it's LAMY Sepia. They come in these funky bottles that look a little bit like UFOs. And they have this little bit here, which is actually a blotter that you can tear off. So when you're filling your pens and you inevitably get ink all over the tip, pull a little piece of that blotter out like a paper towel and clean your pen. It's a really fun little thing that comes with all of their inks. Next up is the water pen that I was talking about, that I use with all three of these water-soluble inks. And you can see it looks just like a paintbrush, but it's not. It's just, well, I mean, it can be used as a paintbrush, but in this instance, it's just water. You can see it's got water in that reservoir there. This is an Arteza pen. And you just fill it up, and you push these little buttons here on the, or they're not buttons, but you know, these where it says push, you push in on that, and water will come down down through here and into the brush, and you have a ready supply of water with you. So if you're using watercolor or the inks that I just talked about, you have a supply of water that's with you. Now, although I tend to like using pens, even in my first rendition of the image, I also carry a pencil with me, just in case I want to start with a pencil. And this one is just a cheap Bic 0.7 millimeter number 2 pencil. And I buy these by the handful at my local art reuse store. They sell them for 10 cents a piece. You may be familiar with these mechanical pencils. Maybe you used them back in high school or grade school or something like that. Next up is this pen, brush pen from Kuretake. It's the Kuretake Cambio in Indigo. You can see it's a brush pen. It's got a brush tip. So depending on your angle of attack when you use it, if you use it straight up and down, you can make a very fine line. Turn it sideways like a paintbrush, and you can fill in very large areas. I use this pen for shading because indigo purple makes a really good color for shade. Next up are these two pens from Copic. They're a very well-known brand, relatively expensive, but again, I bought these at my local art reuse store for $2 a piece, which is a third to a half less than you can get them at an art supply shop. These are also brush tips. Use them the same way as the Cambio. This is a number 4 neutral gray. This is the YG97 Spanish Olive. I use both of these for creating tone and shadow also. The gray for regular midtones, the green for inside of foliage and things like that. So that's all the writing instruments. Next up are the painting ones. And we'll start here with my watercolor brushes. And this is a number 6, size number 6 quill. You can see it's got a tapered end, and you can do a lot with it. You can use just the point and get very fine lines, or you can mash it down and get very large washes. As far as washes go, I also carry this hake brush, a 1-inch hake brush back here. I can use it to lay down big areas of color, but typically I just use this brush to lay down water on the paper before putting any pigment down to work on wet on wet watercolor technique. Next up, going down in size, is this number 6 round. Round brushes are probably the most commonly used brushes in watercolor. Or not, this isn't a number 6. This is a size number 13. Relatively large one, again, to cover larger areas. But then if I want to get a finer area, I move down to this. This is the number 6 brush here. You can see it's got a much finer point and tip than the number 13 we just looked at. Very versatile brush. And then I use this one also occasionally while I'm sketching. Typically, I'll use this more at home than when I'm sketching. I tend to stick with the number 13 and the number 6 round brushes for most of my sketching out in the field. But this size number, what is this, a 1? Yeah, size 1 rigger is great to make very fine and straight lines with. That's what it's best for. And finally, on occasion, when I'm out doing urban sketching, I'll use this flat tip brush to create shaded areas where I'm laying down another pigment over top of another one to get it darker. Again, I don't use this one a lot when I'm out and about. It's much more of a home tool, but I pack it in here just in case I need it. And speaking of just in case I need it, that's what these 3 pens are here as we close out the tour of my kit. This pen is a fine liner by Pigma, the Pigma Micron 0.3 millimeter. It's an excellent pen. In fact, this is the pen that I started sketching with years and years ago when I picked it up the very first time. Also a waterproof ink, just like the carbon ink that's in my TWSBI Eco pen. And then I have 2 Faber-Castell Pitt pens. One is a chisel point that can make flat lines, wide flat lines, or you can put it actually on the point and make very fine lines. And then this one is, like my others, a brush pen, but a much smaller tip than the others. And both of these are also waterproof. And I carry these three with me in case any of these ones over here run out of ink, so that I have them with me. And because I'm working with water and ink, spills are inevitable. I also carry some kitchen roll or paper towels with me as well. And that's it for the kit. Now let's take a look at other things that I use. Move this out of the way. I will take a look at my watercolor travel kit. First, you'll notice this cap comes off and it doubles as a reservoir. It's a really great tool. You can put water in this. And then this whole thing unfolds with these two flaps. And this goes down on top of it so that you have an entire watercolor setup. You've got 3 mixing areas, 1, 2, 3, 12 pigments, a little sponge to wick off extra pigment or extra water, and then of course the reservoir that we already talked about. Everything that you need when you're out in the field. In fact, many people who have travel kits use even fewer than 12, but 12 little half pans fit very nicely in here, so I fill them up with different pigments that make my painting out in the field that much easier. I always forget how these go when they go back. I think the little one goes, yeah. And you can see it all folds back up very nicely. One of the things I saw in my kit and pulled out was this brush, this tiny little brush. It's about a size number 1 or size number 2 round that actually goes inside this kit, but for some reason it was in my sketching kit, and it goes right here. So that comes with you. And then also in this is this cool little thing. Not only is it a mixing area, but it's a water reservoir as well. You can fill this up and carry your water with you along with your pigments. I tend not to use it that way. I carry a water bottle with me and fill up my reservoir with the water bottle instead of carrying it in there, because I can carry a lot more water in the water bottle. Now finally, let's take a look at the sketchbooks that I use. The sketchbook here is the Strathmore 400 series watercolor. It is made of wood pulp and cellulose, so not a cotton-based paper, which is the top of the line for paper, but this is still a good product. It's cold pressed, so you can see it's got a little texture on the paper itself. This one's been used a few times. We've got some images in here. But I can't wait to fill the rest of it up. This is my workhorse in my sketch kit. I'll fill a few of these up every year. And it's at a good price point. I buy these on Amazon most of the time at a very good price. And then I also carry this, which is the Arche brand of paper, 100% cotton. So this is a much better paper than in this one over here. Arche is one of the standard papers that are used by professional artists. It's hard to see on here, but it's got a really great texture, also cold pressed, which means it's going to have this texture on the surface, or hot pressed is going to be much more smooth. I prefer a texture instead of a hot press. Now this is a higher quality paper, but it's not out of reach. I tend to buy these at Michael's because I can get the best price there. Oftentimes you can get them on sale for 25 to 50% off, depending on what sale they have at Michael's. And if you also use your rewards, if you're a member of their rewards club, you can apply that. So this one here, I bought 2 of these for $15, when they normally retail for $25 a piece. So that's why I get these at Michael's. I try not to shop at the big boxes or Amazon as much as possible, but I think, as we know, they offer the best prices, and sometimes you're only going for price, especially if you're just starting out. But that's everything in my kit, as you can see here. Now, I don't carry these inks with me. I carry them with me inside my pens. Those stay at home, and I fill them up before I go. So I want to let you know that I'm not carrying around glass bottles full of very highly messy inks. And that's the kit. Well, that's everything in my sketch kit. As you can see, it's well stocked, but it's not huge. In fact, it all fits inside my over-the-shoulder messenger bag or in the side pocket of my luggage for when I'm traveling farther away from home. If you enjoyed this video, or better yet, were inspired by this video, I would ask that you like, share, subscribe, or comment. That type of interaction helps other people find my videos, and maybe they can be inspired the same way that you were today. If you're interested in any of the gear that I shared, I put links in the description below. You can click on those and go check them out and maybe make a purchase if you're interested. I'd also like to encourage you to watch other second act artist videos where I talk about creativity and artistry and artistic mindsets for people over the age of 50. I hope you enjoyed this little tour of my sketch kit. I'll probably do other videos like that in the future, but until that time, I want to thank you for watching this one, and I'll see you next time.